All right. Okay. So, welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are joining us from. If you are joining us on YouTube or LinkedIn or via Twitch, please do well to drop a message on our Discord room so we have more persons joining in. So, for those of us already here, either you're joining on YouTube, Twitch, or LinkedIn, please do well to drop a message on the low code room so we have more persons joining in because we are not really a lot. So please do well to drop a message so we have more persons joining in. All right, we already have our instructor here. Samuel is a product design consultant at Boat Click. We already know him already. So welcome once again, Samuel. Thank you so much for being here. Can you hear me, Samuel?
Yeah, we can hear you. I can hear you. Like, good afternoon, good morning, everyone, and it's a pleasure to be here. And today we'll be jumping right to it. Today's class is going to be about responsive design with Framer, responsive design, and working with breakpoints in Framer. So, if you are here and you have not completed your assignment, you should try it. Make sure you attempt to do it, no matter how complex it may have been. If you're just hearing about the assignment for the first time, you can check the Discord server for the um, no code, and you would find the assignment there. Do it. Try your best to do it to the best of your ability. If the videos were not exactly which are should be helpful, because in the video you've checked the Top Universe channel, YouTube channel, you'll find a video where I literally recreated the particular assignment that was given out. So that should help you work on it. If you still have an issue, you can always Google to ask questions, like ask Google questions and figure out what exactly is wrong. So now, with that being said, let's get to today's class. So today we're going to talk about breakpoints. So, when you visit a website, let's go to Top Universe. Right. Let's go to Top Universe. So when you visit the website, if you're opening it with your laptop or your desktop or a large screen, basically we have the design looks the website will look something like this. So we have a lot of information, everything is centered, and it flows, right? Looks really good. Now, if we shrink the screen, now, if you want to see this particular environment, all you need to do is to press Ctrl Shift I on your keyboard and you'll be able to see this. So this is what the laptop looks like, somewhere around here. This was what you saw just now on my screen. So this is like a 1440 laptop, right? Device. So you could, if you are using a smaller device, this is what it will look like. And if you're using a much smaller device, this is what it will look like. And if the device is smaller, design comes in. I know if you notice now at this point, the design looks a lot more different. So now just look at it. This is what it looks like. Then if you notice, the design begins to evolve, right? It's changing. You see that things are moving around. The text is just filling up the space available. If you notice, succeed was previously way in the middle, but now you can see that succeed literally just moved to this other side. So you see that the text is behaving, it's moving to fill up available space. We can see that also the information, the cards, everything is moving to fill up available space. And you can see everything is moving according to the width of the device available. So if you go in all the way down, and when the device hits a certain point, which is where we now come to what we call breakpoints, the design begins to rearrange. If you notice at this point, so this is the point, right? This is the point
Jonathan,
where instead
sorry.
of yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can't see your screen, like what you're currently showing us. I don't know if you can
I
see the
use
comments.
oh, okay. Yeah, I think there's an issue somewhere. I'll need to stop sharing and I'll share again. I'm going to share
All
again.
right.
Yeah. So is my screen visible now?
Yes.
All right, fine. So I'm going to this is the Top Universe website. And today we're going to talk about responsive design. So if you've heard what I said, you get what I mean. So what I was trying to explain with Top Universe website, for you to see what I'm about to do, just press Ctrl Shift on your keyboard, then press the letter I also. Like while pressing Ctrl Shift, press letter I on your keyboard, and you would get some an environment that looks similar to this. If you're not a front end engineer, back end, or anything relating to software engineering or web development, you might not be familiar with this particular aspect of Chrome. You can access this on other browsers, I think with the same command, but on Chrome, the command is Ctrl Shift I. Now, I'm going to be using this to show you exactly what the same website, which is in this example, the Top Universe website, would look like depending on the device. So usually front-end engineers use this to make sure to check what they've created to make sure that the design looks good across all screen sizes. But we're going to also be using this to check out what Top Universe website looks across all screen sizes. So now this is let's check a bigger device. So this is you can see if I hover, we have 4K. So let's check 4K. So this is what if we were to open Top Universe website on a 4K like monitor, this is what it will look like. All the information will be in the middle, and you can scroll from the beginning to the end. Now, if we open the Top Universe website on a 1440 device, it will look like this. So the information will still be in the middle, but we'll have, if you notice at this point, we have the information, the content starting from here. So basically, there's a limit to how far the sections. So this is a section, this is a section, this video is a section, our trusted partner is also a section, career path is a section, all the way down. If you notice, each section has a fixed width, so it cannot stretch endlessly. Otherwise, we would have content stretching all the way to the end and to this other end. But because there's a limit, which will be extra, I'm using this to give you some foundational understanding of what breakpoints are, what they mean, and how they work, right? So now, if we go open this on a smaller device, this is like this 1440, like I mentioned earlier. You notice the way it behaves. Then let's open it on a lot smaller device. So this is what it looks like. If you notice, the information the text begins to fold, right? It's folding around the space available. Now, for you to see, just observe how the paragraph below this heading, that's just right above the button with join the cohort, just this paragraph here. Notice how it behaves, right? So you check, you see that it is filling up the space. So it begins to move to the next line, then the next line, all the way down here. So that is what we call responsive design. So we make sure that the content on the website, from the text to the graphics to the videos, images, whatever it is, would behave in a way that ensures that it looks good no matter the device that it is opened on. So it's very important to do this because we have myriads, endless screen sizes, people, different devices with different width, different height, and it's not possible for you to account for every single device out there. So instead of doing that, all we can do is to make sure that we create a website that is dynamic, a website that no matter the device you're using to open it, it would still look good. And users will still have a good experience on your platform. If you're a business, this becomes even way more important because, especially if you are selling, right? So you want to make sure that your website looks good if your customers are opening your website, no matter the device they're using, right? You want to make sure it looks good. And of course, most times you find yourself working in a company that sells some sort of service or product, whatever the case may be, and you have to optimize the website for that. And yeah, you in a company setting, a use case where you might need a tool like Framer would be in situation where you're trying to maybe launch a new feature and you want to quickly send out a wait list for people to quickly sign up for that new feature and use that to gauge the level of people's interest. Now, this topic quite entirely different, but I'm just going to try to give you an idea of a use case for when you would need a tool like Framer within a company. So now, if you notice when we bring it all the way down here, you see the way it behaves, it looks way different. You can see that this was initially 3 per line. If we check it on the larger device, can say it was three, but at some point it became two. Then when we check it on mobile, it's now one. See? So it's one. See, even this place, everything is now stacked on each other because if we decide to put them beside each other, the text will not be visible, the image will not look good. A lot of things begins to break, right? So we have to stack them on each other. Now, alternatively, you could do something like this where you can easily just scroll and see the remaining content that are not in view. So now another thing you should take note of when working with a website, when creating a website and considering responsive design, is that on mobile there is no hover, right? You cannot hover over a button on mobile. You cannot create if you have an effect on your on your desktop device, like you have something where when a user hovers over it, it behaves a certain way. On mobile, you have to create a slightly different interaction, so a press interaction. So if you want a user to stay experience that particular animation or interaction, instead of using the hover effect, you switch it to a press or something else that would be easily accessible from a mobile device. So something to take note of. So with that, let's get to right to it. So before I proceed, can you guys hear me? And yeah, do you have any issues with what that have been discussed so far? So if you have questions, you can ask, and yeah, make sure you're asking your questions. So what we have here is basically a bunch of sections, possible sections. So we usually would have a part of your website that would have like icon, headings, paragraph, a bunch of them together with a heading. Then we would also have sections that look like this. So this is just a bunch of possible sections that you would have on a website. And we're going to try to make sure it looks good across the different breakpoints. So I'm going to bring up my screen zoom just like this. And I would zoom in like this. Hopefully this will be a lot easier for you to see. And so yeah, so for breakpoints on Framer, you would discover that we have a plus button here. So when you click plus button here, something happens. It shows you two options. Do you want to switch to tablets? Do you want to switch to mobile? Well, you can do both, right? So let's start with tablet. When we click on tablet, we see what the design looks like on tablet. Then if we click on it again, let's switch to phone. Give it some time, it's loading. We see what the design look like on mobile. Of course, we would need to fix this based on the explanation here. You know exactly what it will look like on the mobile view. It's not going to look like this, staying beside each other, but instead it will stack on top of each other. So for example, just click on direction instead of being horizontal, make sure it's vertical. To that, you can see that design automatically changes. So that's one way to fix it, but we're going to start with the desktop. So for desktop, I've already made this change already. So the way this design worked, I copied it from Figma directly. So it was not created directly on Framer. And people, you might have issues like that where you bring in a design from Framer and a lot of things are not looking right. So, and most of the things you would have issues you have is, for example, your text might be fixed, right? So for example, your text can be like this to being fixed. So and usually because of that, the text will be out of the boundaries where you want them to be. So something like this. And all the text most times will be this way, which will make it very difficult. Of course, you don't want text to be this way because if it is this way, it means that the text has a fixed width, and if it's not going to wrap around the available space around the available space. And if the device is not exactly the right width, the content will look exactly like this. And we don't want this, right? Nobody can read exactly what is on top of this other text. And we don't want that. So usually you check your sizing and change it to fill from fixed to fill. Right, when you change it to fill, it would only fill up the available space, which is this, and you can proceed with the rest. You do the same for every other instance when discover your text is going out of the boundaries that it should. And with that, your design would look a lot better. Your website look a lot better. So now we'll continue with this. So for example, you see another instance here where the text is in fixed. So we can just change it here from fixed to change it to fill. We could also use relative, but for using relative, you can say for relative, yeah. I'm going to read Control Z. So now fixed goes to relative, and we have 212%. So if we change it to 100%, it take up only 100% of the width available. So now the width available is the container. So and the container is only taking up this amount of space. So 100% means that this text will take up exactly 100% of the parent, and the parent is this, which is right here. So that's what happens when you use relative. Relative is in percentage, and it's taking up it's taking up a proportion of the parent in that percentage value. So take note of that. And so now what first thing we would want to do is to adjust the padding, the margin rather. So you'll notice that the margin on both sides, which is here and here, it's okay, but we can do better, right? So we're going to reduce it further to 40 because we're beginning to have less space. The screen is getting smaller. We don't have as much real estate as we did when it was on desktop. So we have to make sure that the space we have, we make use of it judiciously. So first thing we do is to reduce the padding, the margin rather, on both sides, so the extreme sides. We reduce the padding, and so when you've done that, what next you would like to do is to, since the content already looks good, you could alternatively, if you feel this text is too big, you could select them one after the other and reduce them, right? So you could select them. So you could so say there's a concept in Framer similar to what we have in Figma, where you can create something close to styles. You know, but maybe if you are familiar with Figma for styles, of course, if you're a designer, you would know what Figma styles are, right? Basically, how you can create typography and upload them to Figma. Then, whenever you select a text, you can apply that style to that particular text. So we have something like that on Framer, and that would allow you to ensure that you don't have to select all the text individually to edit. So now, well, that's not its subject for today. So we'll just proceed to select them one after the other, and let's reduce this to, like, let's say 14, and then reduce the line to 20, and then bring this down to, let's bring this down to 18, and bring this to 24. And so because the content of this particular column in this particular row is the same with the row below, I'll just duplicate it and delete this one, right? So yeah, this looks a lot better. So next we can inspect other sections. So for example, this section is beginning to look weird because you can see that content is already very close to the divider here. So what we could do is to switch the layout. So we could just select the entire container. You can see this is container. Then we change the direction from horizontal to vertical, and to look like this. So it will now take make use of the space available to fill up the design. Then next is to, let's check this particular section. So this section looks a lot better. What we could do is to reduce the gap between each card. So let's bring it down to 18 or 16. 16 would be better. And yeah, let's check this one out too. So this looks good. This one still has a lot of space at the tablet level, and so let's expand this to cover the entire width. So let's see, feel. All right, so this looks a lot better already, and we'll come down to this. This still looks good on tablet. Now, if you notice, this part is the image is not taking up as much space as the content. Basically, the content is squeezing out the image, so we can just change the container, the content to fill, So the image is already in fill. If you check here, it's fill, but the content was in fixed. So once you change it to fill, it takes equal space and it becomes equal. So if you want, for example, the image to take less space, all you can do is to come here and say 0 point, which is less than 1. So previously we had 1 fr. So this is what we have initially. So we can change this to 0.7 fr, or we can bring it down to like 0.3. You can see the lower the fr below 1, the less space it takes. Or alternatively, say we can select the content and say 1.5 to 1.7. But when you do this, it will take up the amount of space it takes up. It will be less compared to if you were to go below 0, below 1 rather. So something to take note of. And I'm going to keep it like this. Just in the middle, then we might just bring this one to 0.8. And so if you notice this text, it's on fixed and part of it is not visible. So we just select the text, select both of them, change it from fixed to fill, and you can see that everything now appears neatly. Okay, also this particular one, so we just select it, adjust it to fill, and it looks good. So whenever you change content that is not the desktop frame, that change is going to stay in that particular frame. So for example, the way I made changes to this place, I should have made a change here, but because I made a change here, it's not going to affect on the tab on the desktop, neither is it going to have effect on the mobile. It's going to, the mobile and the desktop would behave the way they were before. Just the tablet that I changed would change. So take note of that. So there might be instance where you might need to make some changes specific to a particular screen size, and this is a very good way to do it, where you select that particular screen size, that particular width, the particular breakpoint, in this case the tablet, and you make the changes you want to make. And once you're done, it stays, right? It just stays there. It doesn't affect any other. But if I come to the, for example, the tablet, the desktop, and I make those changes, because remember the fixed came from here, I change this to fill, it would affect this, because this thing is a lot of work. A lot of things are not right here, but would adjust it in a bit. So yeah, we should go to the phone, right, which is the smallest device, the mobile view. So for the mobile view, if you notice the padding, which is the space on the side, is still 80 pixels. So we want to bring it down to 16. We don't have much space here, so we can allow that much um, left and right space. So we'll just bring it down to 16, and we can now start selecting text. Now, for institutions like this, when you have text that are covering the entire screen, that's mobile, you could, one way to do it is you could, if it's something that would not affect the way the desktop looks like, you could go to the desktop, select the text, and change it to fill. Then change this one to fill as well. Then if you come here and you select fill, you can see automatically it goes in. Then, but because this would also need a little bit of editing, so we're just going to go in, change it from 32 to 24, and reduce this to 32 as well. And so for this section, we'll do the same thing. Remember, this is vertical, this is horizontal, so we're going to make it vertical. And for this one, the same thing. Going to make sure everything stacks on each other nicely. And let's check this one out too. Stack. Next, we need to stack this one too. So in a situation like this, when there's almost no space for you to click on particular item you're trying to click on, you can come to the layers panel and select them one after the other. So content, content, and content. Then do this. Right, the same thing, change direction from horizontal to vertical, and it looks good instantly. So just close this up and continue. Now for this one, remember this is what it looks like on what it looks like. So what we want to do, we want to stack it. So for us to stack it, we'll select the entire. So basically, this is the content, this is the image. So we'll select the parent, which is block card. Let me see if I can zoom in a bit more. So we select block card, and when we select block card, we change the direction to vertical. Then we move the image to the top, and we can stretch the image like this. Stretch the image like this, and we can then close the space. Right, you can close the space to look something like this, and voila, it looks good, right? So one more thing, we can do this, and the same thing here, change it to vertical. Then here we can, so we have an image here similar to the one above. So the same thing, come here, change it to vertical, and exactly. You can now edit. You can, if you notice this, but do text here are going out of view, so you can select the whole thing. In fact, the entire content is out of view, both the image and the content. So you select both of them, you notice, you know that it's out of view when you see this. You see the blue line is way out of view. So you just select this and you go to width, change it to fill, and now everything is fixed. So we now have so if you notice the space between each section is a lot more. On the desktop, it's not noticeable because we have more space, but it becomes a lot more noticeable on the mobile. So we could fix that by selecting everything, which is going to be this frame one. Then we notice that it has 180 pixels. We can change that to, let's say, 80 pixel. And I'm going to reverse it back so that you'll see the difference. So this is the space here. This is the space we're trying to adjust here. This space and this space. So we're going to change it to 80 and it comes together more. Or you could just drag this, right? You can just drag this and it just goes in. Or you can, when you select, you zoom in and you find this particular pink line, you can hold it and drag down or up. You see the value is right there. You can see what the value is and increase it or reduce it to what you want. Then yeah, so that is how you work with responsive design. So if you have any questions, please ask so that we can review your questions together and answer your questions. So any questions for me? Any questions? Any issue you're having with Framer so far? Ella, can you hear me? So do we have any questions? Any questions? Anybody with issues using Framer that we can discuss on the call before it ends? Drop your questions and
Okay, Sama, can you hear me?
yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry, my network was a bit slow, so I was trying to join back up. All right, so please, if you have questions for Samuel, please, you can start dropping them on the comments so you can take them.
Mm. So if you have any questions, ask ask your questions and let's look at it together to improve what you've got. How many of you have done the assignment, by the way? If you know you've completed your task, can you indicate in the comments? Oh yeah, you have, working on the hero section. Okay, all right, good, good, good. Any other person? Many of you have done the assignment. If you've done the assignment or you're having issue with it, drop a comment, mention the issue you're having, and let's get that going. To type the words, which words? Yeah, you can bring in content from Figma to Framer. We had a class on that. You can check the YouTube channel how to import from Figma to Framer. Yeah, it's very possible to import from Figma to Framer. And what do you mean by type of words? So in terms of integration, there is no direct integration between Framer and Figma. They are both different tools, right? So you can access, you can move your designs from Figma to Framer using a plugin, and that plugin is called HTML to Framer plugin. So just search Framer on Figma's plugin and you'll find it. All right. Any other person? Any other question? Any other question? So, since we do not have any other question, we can end the session here. If you have more questions, always reach out on Discord, the Discord server, through the no code channel. I'll be there to answer your questions. All right. Ella, can you hear me?
Oh, yes, I'm trying to speak, but I don't know
Okay,
what's happening to my network.
I can hear you now. Over to you. The session is over. Thank you for having me.
Um, oh,
I think Ella is having a bit of network issue, so just give her a little bit of time and yeah, ask your questions on Discord server and have a wonderful day, guys. Have a very wonderful day. Those of you joining from Nigeria, yeah, I'll sure also have a wonderful day. And if you're joining from any other part of the world and it's not daytime, I hope you're doing good and the rest of the day to you too. So I'm going to just hang in here for a bit for Ella to join back. I think she's having a network issue. She's having a bit of network issue, right? All right, let's wait a bit longer. Yes, yes, yes. It's advisable to use stocks. Yes. For responsiveness, yes. Only very few instances you would need to use um, frames, but for the most part, yes, stocks. Because it will allow you to move from horizontal to vertical and basically a lot more flexibility. Of course, you cannot stack things underneath each other when you're using stacks, but you might not need to do that for the most part in most situations. But if you do need to stack things on each other, you would have to use frames. And if you're using frames, you have to be very observant of, and you will need to test what your design looks like. So when you publish it, I think we should even publish this, right? Let's publish this one. Let's publish this instantly. All right, so just click on this link right here. Let's check. So I have a very big screen. Oh, one more thing. Let's add this to this design. We can select every single feature. All right, let's select everything, and we give it a max, a minimum, a maximum width. So we come here, set max width, set it to set it to 1360, and I mean that would look good. Publish again, update, and we would refresh. I'm doing this because I have a larger screen, so if you notice the content is stretching a lot more, then always should make sure it is in the center. So as much as you're optimizing for mobile view, you also optimize for large screens. So you notice everything now stays in the middle. Everything now stays in the middle. We could also do more and bring it a lot closer. So you can select everything instead of using this. Let's use 1200 max width, and again update. And as long as your internet is good, it would load really fast. Now you notice now everything stays in the middle. Everything stays in the middle, and no matter how big your screen size is, it stays right there. Now, if you're using a smaller device, now you start seeing the breakpoint. Notice why we do this. See, see how flexible it is. Then see how it changes. So yeah. Oh, you can't see my screen. Wonderful. I'll share my screen. I'll share my screen. I'm sharing my screen now. Okay. So yes, let me go back. So what I did, so these are the, this is feature. This is the first section. This is second section. This is third section, all the way down, right? So all I did was I selected all of them. Then previously this was not there. This is what it looks like, right? So you select this, change it to max width, then change it to fixed, and just I set it to, initially it was, I tried 1360 pixels, but it was too wide. So you can do it like this, then publish, update, go back, refresh. You can see my screen now, right? Okay. So now it's, if we refresh, this is what it looks like. It's now in the middle. So previously, if we don't have that, let me show you what it looks like without it. So let's select everything. I remove max width and publish again. That's what it looks like without it. We'll come back here, refresh. Yeah, this is what it looks like. It just covers everywhere. It just stretches and stretches endlessly. We don't want this. It doesn't look good at all. It doesn't look good because it means that if someone opens this, the website on a really, really big device, it would just stretch, and someone would have to read the text all the way from the beginning of the screen to the end of the screen. It won't make sense at all. So you have to make sure it stays in the middle. So everything selected, come here, change it from select min width, change it to fixed, and keep it at 1200, and you publish, update, come back, refresh, and voila, everything is in the middle. So that was it. You can't still see my what? Wait, what? Wait. Okay. I'm sharing again. Sharing again. One more time. Can you see my screen now? I think I'm having a bit of issue trying to figure out where it's coming from. Can you see my screen? If you can see my screen, indicate please. Can you see? No. Wonderful. I think there might be. I'm going to go. If I leave the studio, this is interesting. I'm going to go off stage and I'll come back and
You send someone a message, who know whether I'm not. Hello guys. Hello guys, can anyone hear me? If you can hear me, please go ahead and drop a message in the chat so that I'll know that you can hear me.